Hi, my name is Jan. Today I'm going to show the badminton forehand drop shot and the tennis forehand volley.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. My name is Leslie Racquet. In badminton, I will be demonstrating the forehand overhead clear, and in tennis, I will be demonstrating the forehand ground stroke.
Hi, my name is Kamyan, and I'm going to show you the net shot in badminton and the overhead serve in tennis.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. Today I'll be teaching you the short serve in badminton and the backhand ground stroke in tennis.
And we are the Racquet Sports Kings!
And we!
The tennis volley is used to score a point. It's not a setup shot, it's really to score a point. You use it when the opponent is really deep in his court, and you just have to do a little shot which lands close to the net, bounces once, and the second bounce has to be really short to make sure your opponent doesn't have time to reach the ball. So you could do the shot by sending your opponent deep, running up to the net, doing the volley, short shot, guaranteed point if it's done right. So in order to do the tennis forehand volley, you have to hold your racket in a continental grip, which is like if you're holding an axe. You take your left hand, hold it at the neck or the head of the racket, and you just grab your racket with the other hand. It's going to be exactly like when you're holding an axe. The forehand volley is when the ball doesn't touch the ground. So in order to do that, you got to make sure that you're in ready position. Your head is between your waist and shoulder level, and you have to make sure that your wrist is firm. It's important to use this continental grip and not the eastern grip due to the fact that the racket head has to be a bit higher, so your wrist is in a more comfortable position and you have more strength to make sure that the racket does not bend in your hand. Lastly, when the ball is going to make contact with your racket, you got to make sure that the tennis racket is in front of you and you do a downwards motion to make sure the ball has a downward trajectory and not an overhead rainbow axis. The activity for this is quite simple. You have a partner in front of you, tosses the ball, simply volley, make sure it has a downward motion, catches it. You do that 3 times each, switch. As you progress, go a bit further, and you can start throwing the ball. You're hitting the ball at a higher velocity, and you do a volley straight down. Alright, back up, do it a bit harder. Last one, back up, throw it harder. Alright. The badminton forehand drop shot is used when your opponent is in the back of the court. After a clear or a smash, he's at the back of the court, you do a drop shot, which goes right over the net and is supposed to drop within 3 feet of the net. So your opponent doesn't have enough time to accelerate to reach the birdie. And even if he does reach the birdie, it's going to do a bad shot and you could counter with a smash right away. In order to do the badminton forehand drop shot, you have to hold your racket in a basic grip, which is like when you're hand shaking your racket. First step, you have to make sure your shoulders aren't perpendicular to the net. You have to make sure, let's say if you're a righty, your left shoulder is pointing the net and your right shoulder is pointing to the end of the court. You're sideways, you have to make sure your racket is behind your ear. So you're in ready position. When the birdie comes, your left hand points the net, your racket is in your right hand in back of your ear, a bit higher than your head. As the birdie comes down, you try to hit the birdie when you're at the peak of your height. As your rotation is going from the back of your head to the top, you have to make sure you hit it from the highest point of target. When you hit the birdie, you have to make sure you bend your wrists downwards to make sure the birdie has a downwards trajectory and not an axis like a rainbow. Make sure it goes downwards. And you finish your shot with a follow through where your palm and your racket is facing downwards and both of your shoulders are facing the net and your opponent. Good activity you could do for the badminton drop shot. You need a partner. It's a combination. Start off, you do a serve, other person does an overhead clear, try to push you back in the court, you follow with a drop shot. Do that 3 times each, then you switch. Here's an example of one. One more time. Serve it deep, push her back. Ready position, drop shot. Hi, my name is Jan. I did the badminton drop shot and the tennis volley. This is going to help you in your professional career. Thank you.
So now we're going to be focusing on the forehand ground stroke in tennis. Basically, the forehand ground stroke is used throughout rallies. What you're trying to do is, once the ball has bounced onto your side, you're trying to hit the ball so it could get onto your opponent's side. It's just used as a return shot. Body must be facing sideways. One foot must be slightly forward. For right-handed players, racket is held on your right side. Your body will shift slightly to the left. Both feet will hop towards the left, and the left foot will be slightly further than the right foot. The right arm will swing using the C technique from high to low and make contact with the ball towards the center of the racket. Slightly bend your knees right before making contact with the ball and follow through on your shot. Racket should end up towards your left side. Right now I'm going to demonstrate you a very simple drill for the forehand ground stroke. So you'll pair up the students in groups of 2. So one student on either side of the net. That's Karian. Alright? So simply, I'm going to use the forehand ground stroke to pass it to Karian. Karian will stop the ball by catching it. She may allow the ball to bounce once to make it easier for her. So it's going to look like this. Making sure you have the proper C motion. As she stopped it, she'll pass it to me. And I'll use the same technique to pass it to her. Making sure I have the proper C motion. Now to make things a little more challenging, if the ball bounces twice, that's a point for Karian. Because I was unable to get it. Alright? So we'll do this one last time. Now, if they're having troubles, you can limit the distance and have them serve from a closer distance to the net. So it can look like this from here, just to make sure they're comfortable. The overhead forehand clear. It is used as a defensive shot. It is used quite often in singles. Basically what you're trying to do is to hit the birdie from your baseline onto your opponent's baseline. First off, you have to move into position and get behind the shuttle while using the forehand grip. Raise your racket arm and non-racket arm. Your body should face sideways with your feet facing slightly sideways. Make sure your knees are bent slightly. Forehand stroke positioning. Stretch your racket arm as far back as possible. Stretch out your non-racket arm. It is also important to inhale, then exhale when you swing your racket forward. A tip would be to bend your racket foot lower than your opposite leg as you swing your racket forward. Use your racket foot to push your body weight forward. Take the shuttle to its highest point by placing yourself behind the birdie, so when you hit the birdie, it will naturally swing upwards. Another tip would to straighten your knees as you hit the birdie. Complete a full arm swing. Follow through on your swing. Shuffle your racket forward as you swing forward. Your body should be facing forward after you've successfully made contact with the birdie. Your racket foot should be in front of your non-racket foot, and both feet should be facing forward. Basically, this is a simple drill for the forehand overhand clear. How this game works is it's a simple combination play. It is basically, you're gonna use the long forehand serve, the person's gonna return, and then you're gonna use the overhead clear as the end for the combination play. Now I'm gonna demonstrate. The first shot is the long forehand serve. So I'm trying to get my opponent all the way to his baseline. Gabe is gonna return my long forehand serve. Using the overhead clear, I'm trying to get my opponent all the way to the back line. Now we're going to demonstrate the full motion, the full sequence. So just a reminder, it's long forehand serve, return, and then overhead forehand clear.
There you go. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Leslie Griffin, and today I taught you the overhand forehand clear in badminton, and I taught you the forehand ground stroke in tennis. Hope this serves you well, and good luck in your future career.
These shots are played from around the net area back to your opponent's net area. It can be played from the forehand or backhand side. The objective is to force your opponent to hit a weak lift or hit shot that could not clear the net. These shots can be played straight or crosscourt. For the net shot in badminton, you have to adopt the forehand grip for forehand shots or the backhand grip for backhand shots. You must keep the racket up in front of your body. You must lunge forward aggressively with your racket leg. After, extend your racket arm and keep the racket high to ensure the shuttle is hit as early as possible. The racket face shall be parallel to the floor and let the shuttle bounce off the racket. Okay, now for the net shot, we're going to do a game called Cross the Court. You have to do net shot to keep the birdie up the net and cross the court with your partner. Good job. The overhead serve is initially used to put the ball in play. For the overhead serve in tennis, you must have a consistent toss, at least higher than full extension with the racket. It's the proper movement for the serving arm must be fully extended up away with the toss. Weight shift back, then loop down behind head on weight shift transition. So the weight shift of your legs are really important. The proper grip for beginners should be a top spin grip. Top ridge of racket rotated to the right away from your top. The body position, you should be your feet back facing the target. This gives you a head start in making a full shoulder turn. Right-handers should have their left foot as close to parallel to the baseline as comfortable with your right foot target parallel behind. Okay, for the overhead serve in tennis, you have 6 people in a line, and one at a time they're just going to do overhead serve. If they can make it in the box, they just go at the back of the line. If they can't make it in the box, they have to do 3 burpees and go back of the line. So I'm just going to show you a demonstration. I didn't get it, so I'm going to do 3 burpees. And I will go at the back of the line. My name is Kayan, and I did the net shot and the overhead serve. I hope this is going to help you. Thank you.
The backhand ground stroke is used on the non-racket side of the body as the ball bounces. Players can execute the backhand ground stroke.
I'm gonna let you finish this, but the forehand ground stroke is the best of them all.
Bro, back to what I was saying. Players can use the backhand ground stroke either with one hand or 2 hands. When preparing to hit a 2-handed backhand ground stroke, the player assumes a ready position just behind the baseline at the center. The ready position is a balanced body position in which the feet are about shoulder width apart, with the knees flexed and the back straight. The player's weight is forward with the feet and body facing towards the opponent, and the player's eyes are fixed on the ball. The racket should be held loosely between the waist and shoulders. Both hands are held close together on the grip of the racket, with the top hand in a semi-western grip position and the bottom hand in a continental grip. Once the opponent strikes the ball and the player determines the direction of the shot, he initiates a unit turn in which the body, racket, and feet all turn sideways to the net at the same time to face the backhand side. After the turn, the player should move immediately to the contact point where the ball will be hit. Ideally, the player will be in good position before the ball lands on the court and will have time to take a few quick short adjustment steps if necessary. When moving into a position to hit the ball, the player should take the racket back so it points to the back fence and is below the contact point, allowing it to move forward in a low to high swing pattern. The player's weight should also be loaded on the back foot. So, for the tennis backhand ground stroke, we're going to start with a little drill where we're going to hit the ball back and forth to each other, not letting it bounce. Karian will be using the double hand grip, I'll be using the one hand grip. So, we'll start, we'll hit it over. When the ball goes in a bad position, we'll stop it and we'll restart. Now, to get the game a little more exciting and to make it harder, we could take a few steps back. We could also let the ball bounce. For example, from that example, I think you can understand that this is a great way to make kids move and to teach them the basic backhand ground stroke in tennis. This type of serve is used in double matches. The aim is to hit the shuttle so it clears the net and it lands as close to the line as possible. But it must touch the line at least. For the short serve in badminton, start in the same way as the high serve, but stand as close to the service line as possible without actually touching it. Holding the racket using the handshake grip is the best way to do it. Start facing side on, with feet about shoulder width apart, with the non-dominant foot being in front, which means closer to the net. The shuttle should be held at waist level. Swing the racket arm back and cock the wrist and hand. Release the shuttle and transfer body weight from back to front. Finally, we're going to bring the racket down and forward to make contact with the shuttle around the thigh area. There should not be much wrist action with this serve as it is pushed over the net rather than hit. Complete a follow through by bringing the racket up in line with the direction of the shuttle and finish with the racket over the opposite shoulder. Finally, the body should now be facing the opponent by bringing the hips and shoulders around. So, for the badminton short serve, a little fun game you can play with children for a few minutes would be hit that line. Basically, the goal of the game is to attempt to hit the blue line that you can see there, which is the baseline. So, the trick is, like I said, to get as close to the line as possible, on your tippy toes, and just get it right over. My shot wasn't as efficient. Let's see if Karian could do any better. Whoa, very good, Karian. Let's give it one more try and go through the steps that we brought in. So remember, be as on your tippy toes as close to the line as possible. Get that height up there, the knee slightly bent, and you want to really get it as close to the line. We'll get Karian for one more shot. Impressive, impressive. Hi, I'm Gabriel. Today I presented to you the backhand ground stroke in tennis and the short serve in badminton. Don't forget the tips I taught you. They'll serve you well.